Resilience, generosity and the power of storytelling. Last year's devastating floods left many families in Nelson Mandela Bay without a home, among them 77-year-old Vuyiswa Benelwa, a visually impaired grandmother who lost everything. Forced to move around people's houses with her unemployed children and grandchildren, she had little hope of rebuilding. That changed after Newzroom Afrika highlighted her plight. A businessman, Chipa Mpengesi, saw her story. He stepped in to help. Now, after months of uncertainty, she's finally received the keys to her brand new home. For more on this, we cross live to our reporter Sipa Keme in Kariyega. Sipa, good morning. What's happening there this morning?
Well, good morning, Stephen. As you mentioned, the power of storytelling, the power of journalism, when the floods took Miss Benelwa's home in June last year, 2024, we saw her house that had collapsed. I mean, just only one room from her house was left standing, Stephen, but the rest of it was right outside. As you also mentioned that she's visually impaired, meaning that she's at a greater risk and danger. But even though she lives with her children and some of her grandchildren, they're not always home. So it was a hazard because it could have collapsed at any minute, but also people were able to gain entry into her home. But afterwards, she was then moved to different homes with her family. If a friend of the family or one of the grandchildren's friends had an open house, a vacant house, they'd be sleeping there, moving to another house, not really having a stable roof over their heads or shelter. But that has all changed now, Stephen, as we see the brand new home. Now, we're going to move inside before we speak to her about this. I'm going to ask Mike to just go ahead and move in so that we could show you this beautiful new home that was built by a Good Samaritan. You could see inside, Stephen, I could tell you this family is excited and very happy about everything. For the new house that they have, the rooms that they have. They finally have also a bed, a bathroom inside of the house, because before this, Stephen, they were using pit latrines rather outside the house. But now they're saying for the first time they actually have a proper bedroom. Now, the house didn't just come like this, Stephen. Also, the house was furnished as well with the beds, and the house was furnished with the beds as well as furniture in the living room, Stephen. So now we're going to just move on to speak to Ms. Benelwa about how she feels, as well as the rest of the family, about how they feel about this. So let's then move on to speak to them about it. And I do have her here right next to me, and I can tell you she was excited, Stephen, jumping up and down in excitement yesterday, as we saw with some of the videos that they supplied us. Very excited. Makhulu, yewethu kunjani? Uziva njani ntombi ukulendlu yakho ngoku?
Ndiziva ndi-right. Ndiphilile.
Unjani uvuya kaloku?
Ndiyavuya yu. Ndivuya ukufa.
Imeko yakhe itshintshile makhulu, ubumane uhlala emizini yabantu, uhlala ezindlini, ubuyile endlini yakho entsha. Walala kuyo phezulu.
Ndilela apha phezulu.
Ulele njani?
Ndilele kakuhle. Kakubekho niks.
Inhliziyo yakhe ixolile?
Ixolile.
All right, okay. Stephen, that is Ms. Benelwa here that we were talking to, of course, telling us about how at peace she is. Now we're going to speak to one of the NGO members, Isinago, that actually told us about her plight and the reason why we had actually come to this home in June. We came repeatedly, Stephen, not just in June. We came in June during the floods. We came back in July to also see if there's been any developments and changes to the home, where then we came back again in August, where we saw that there was a temporary structure or unit that was placed outside, right close to the dilapidated house. But she couldn't live there because it was not conducive for someone in her condition. So then eventually when we did the last story on this family, that's when Chipambengesi saw it on Newzroom Afrika and reached out to us. But because of this organization, a local NGO, Snago, we were able to find out about Umakulu and also come in to assist her. Can you tell us what made you also reach out to Newzroom Afrika to ask us to assist and also to show her plight?
Sikwazi contact her on News Africa. It's because every time when we see on the TV, they always there wherever the community or the people that they wanted. They're always having a story that's having something that is very nice, and they start the story. And also, you can see the ending or the closure of the story. That is why we said, no, we must contact News Africa. And really, after we contacted them, things just came like that. And Mr. Mbengesi came in, and the house, if I can tell you the truth, it took only 4 months for Mr. Mbengesi to be done, the house like this. The condition of the house, you can see that maybe it's like a barn house. In so much the way I look the house, I was just thinking of why this flat cannot come back so that my house can be involved and then Mr. Mbengesi can come. But all in all, we're saying thanks too much to Mr. Mbengesi, because for the Kariaka people, we are really so much happy for what we see now, that Mr. Mbengesi can plow back to the community. We're saying thanks too much to him as a Sinago Weekend NPO.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, Stephen, this is what journalism does, and this is what it's all about, being on the ground, helping people and ensuring that also people's lives are changed. Just like Ms. Benelwa here next to me, her life has been changed in a way that she didn't imagine. She didn't think that she would have been able to have a house because she couldn't even afford one, because she relies on a government social grant. And as we also mentioned, that her children are also unemployed, so they wouldn't have been able to rebuild the home. Stephen.
Thank you very much indeed for that update. Just an incredible situation there at CPKM. It just shows you that there is a lot of good in the world. Well, let's take you to